What's going on, everyone? My name is Alex Shamozy. I'm the CEO of Acquisition.com. We hold a portfolio of companies, and we work with $3 to $10 million companies to help them, at minimum, $3 to $10 million, to help them scale and exit in 3 to 5 years so that they never have to make another dollar again. The reason for this training is for everyone who's less than $3 million a year. I want to help you get there so that maybe someday we could work together. And at the very least, I just want to provide you value. So the first component of figuring out whether or not your stuff is converting is understanding who you're talking to. And so the first part of this is starving crowd. And this is a number of trainings that I'm putting together for everyone that's available on acquisition.com. You can go there and get all the trainings for free. All right. So let's dive into this puppy. So the offer that you have might not be converting because you might be in the wrong market. So you might have a great offer, but you just put in the wrong market. So this is kind of the first thing we have to look at in a business, right? That I'm working with. So here's exactly how you pick the right market. There's 4 pieces of this. One is the levers of success. These are the things that are going to make you, make or break you in this process. The next is the 4 variables that I look at when I'm picking a market to say whether I want to get into this business or I want to get into this market or not. The third is 3 main markets that exist and how to find your sub-market within those. And then finally, the riches are in the niches, which is why niching is so important, especially if you're below 3 million or really even below 10 million, why niching is so important for you to be successful. All right. So let's start with the 3 levers of success. So there's 3 pieces to this that will make you successful. And the first one is the most important. And then if this one checks off, we go to the second one. If that one checks off, you go to the third one. And so the first is the actual market itself. And what I mean by that is if you're selling toilet paper during COVID, then you're probably don't have to have any other skills besides actually just having toilet paper. It was kind of like when masks exploded at the beginning of COVID. Like if you just had them, you were going to sell out, right? And so there are markets that are like that where the demand to supply curve is so one-sided that it doesn't really take anything to be successful besides having a pulse, right? Now, most of us are not in one of these markets, but if you are, then kudos and just stop the video right now and keep doing what you're doing. But it's good to at least understand the different dynamics between marketplaces. And so the way I see each of these 3 variables is you have like a plus, a neutral, or a negative. As long as you're either a plus or neutral, then you can move on to the next part of this equation, all right? Which is going to be your offer itself, right? So as long as we're in at least a normal marketplace, which I define as just something that's growing at the same pace as the economy, or the population, excuse me. As long as it's growing at the same pace as the population, then I know that this is a normal marketplace. And I want to be candid with you. All of the money I've made in my entire life has been in a normal marketplace. I've never had a gangbusters crazy marketplace. I wish I could, and when if you see one of those opportunities, definitely jump onto it. But for me, it's always been in the normal marketplaces. I just try to avoid marketplaces that are dying, right? And I'll give you some examples of those in a second. All right. But with the offer itself is okay. We're in a normal marketplace, but if we're not getting sales, then it might be the offer itself is not very good. All right. And again, here, if you have a great offer, you could stop here and nothing else would matter. If you have an amazing offer, that's it. You can crush it, right? Now, if you have a normal offer, then it goes to the next part of the equation. If you have a terrible offer, then you probably won't be successful at all, all right? And so the third piece of this, that's the least important, is going to be your ability to persuade, right? And the only reason that you would need to be really good at persuasion is if you're in a normal market and you have a normal or subpar offer, you have to be exceptional at persuasion, right? And so there have been empires that have been built off of amazing influencers and persuaders, but you have to have that. And so for me, if I'm working with a business, I'm going to look at these first 2 parts of the equation first, which is, can we find something that's growing and interesting, right? Can we make an offer that's really compelling so that we don't have to develop some of these skills that take a long time to develop, right? Obviously, if you get better at persuading, all these things work better too. But at the very least, like a good persuader in a terrible market is not going to be a bad persuader in a great market, all right? Markets usually win, all right? So those are the 3 levers of success, just to set the context and the frame for what we're going to go into. So these are the 4 variables that I look at when I'm picking a marketplace. The first is that the customers have to be an absolute pain, right? I don't want something that's just convenient or a nice to have. I want something that they absolutely desperately need. All right. As an example, if I were selling hot dogs at right at 2 a.m. as the bars let out in a college town, I'm probably going to do pretty well, right? I've got a starving crowd, quite literally. All right. The next thing I'm looking at is purchasing power, which is do these people that I'm looking to sell to, do they have money? I had a good friend of mine was really, really good at proving resumes, right? And so he made this offer. It was a really good offer to job seekers. And so it was people who were unemployed. What he found out soon was he's like, no one can afford my services. And it was just kind of ironic because that's, who he's going after. Not to say that the unemployment market is something that you couldn't go after. It's just that at least the way that he was approaching it and where he was finding them, those people were all on unemployment, didn't have any money, and so they couldn't afford his services. And so that's why the second thing that I look at is purchasing power. Do these people have money, right? Third is, are they easy to target, right? Because it's great to have an avatar that you're going after, but if I don't have a way to easily target them on a platform, or they have associations they belong to, or lists that I can rent, or other people who already have aggregated these pools of attention together, then it's going to be really difficult to market to them. Like, for example, if I'm trying to market to doctors, and only way that I have to reach people is nurses, well, then my offer is going to fall on deaf ears and it's not going to work, right? Not to say that's just an example. There's obviously really easy ways to target doctors, but you just need to know how to target those people. And if I can't target them, I don't go after that market, all right? And then finally is I want something that's growing, all right? So a good friend of mine owned a company, actually still owns a company, that was a software company that provided advertising services to newspapers, local newspapers. And the problem, and it's so funny because he's such a good entrepreneur, he's a crazy good entrepreneur. And he called me up and he was like, hey man, like I can't figure out why this isn't working, right? He had a really good offer. It was a performance-based offer. It was zero down. It was a rev share based on the revenue he made. So, I mean, it was a super easy offer to sell. All of these things, and he had a good revenue model behind it. But the problem was just the big obvious thing, and that's why sometimes it's good to have outside advisors or other people to just bounce things off of, which is like, dude, you're selling newspapers. And just so you guys know, newspapers shrink at 25% annually for the last 9 years. 25%, that's compounding. So it's literally reverse, like terrible shrinkage in the marketplace. That means it cuts in half every like 3 years, which is really not good. So even if he were growing at 25% a year, he would literally only be staying the same because he has to combat the fact that the marketplace is shrinking. All right. And so those are the four components. One is the pain. I want to make sure that they desperately want what I have. Two, they have the money to afford it. Three, I can find them easily, and that they are growing. And so that is what I'm going to look at. And if I can't find one of those things, I'm going to try and find a place or a market that meets all four of those variables. All right, so we have the three levers of success. As long as we realize the market is the most important part, offer is the second most important part. These are the four variables that I do to pick a market. And then you're like, okay, well, what market exist? All right, so there's three main markets, right? You've got health, wealth, and relationships. And if you think about those, that's kind of like the three core problems of the human condition, right? We want to have money, we want to be loved, and we want to be healthy, right? Those are kind of the three big things. Now, when you look at those markets, those are the main markets, all right? Everything kind of exists within one of those three buckets. If you think about it, that's just about everything that's out there, right? And so what you want to do is you want to help a unique avatar solve a specific problem in a unique way that reverses their biggest objection. And so that's how I like to think about it, is I'll say it again. I help a unique avatar, so a very specific person, solve a very specific problem in a unique way that overcomes their biggest objection or worry. All right. And so by doing that, we are positioned in a unique way in their mind. They're like, oh, well, this is for me, because they're going to hear that it's about them. And it solves this very specific thing that I understand. But wait, is it going to be one of those? No, they do it in a unique way that solves my objection, right? And you can think about how that works from a persuasive standpoint. Now, within each of these markets are sub-markets, right? So within wealth, you could be helping people find real estate investments. You could help people with the stock market. You could help people advertise. You could help people build sales teams. You could help people create offers. You could help people do a variety of things that are going to ultimately make them more money, all right? Within health, it could be, you help people through nutrition-based interventions. You can help, and that's obviously just one sub-bucket. You would have tons of sub-buckets underneath that. You've got keto, intermittent fasting, Weight Watchers with the number system, Nutrisystem with meals that get sent to them. There's all these different ways of solving the same problem, right? Which oftentimes all we need to do is just repackage what they're already doing so that we can ultimately sell stuff, all right? Now, I'll go back there real quick. When we're looking at this, wealth is going to be B2B and B2C. So B2C wealth would be targeting normal consumers and helping them make money. So that might be a new business opportunity, or it might be a job opportunity, or learning a skill that allows them to get a higher paying job. That would be considered wealth for a B2C. B2B is targeting existing businesses and trying to make them more money from their existing, business, right? That's market, like anything that's marketing related, anything, even IT services indirectly is wealth related, right? Because what you're doing is you're indirectly improving, their back-end system so that they can make more money, right? So when we're always thinking about this, it's like what's the so that they can, right? We're doing this so that they can make more money. We're going to do this relationship stuff so that they can have more love and not feel alone, right? And then health, again, is B2C. So most health products, with the exception of like corporate fitness, is going to be B2C. almost all relationship stuff. You're not selling relationship stuff to businesses, except, because even if you sell anything to a business that was like, hey, we'll help the founders talk to each other better communication, that's still going to fall under wealth because it's going to make them more money, right? And so these are the three larger markets. You need to find your sub-market underneath of that, which is going to be your unique way of targeting a specific avatar, solving a specific problem of theirs in a unique way that solves their biggest obstacle, all right? So those are the three main markets and how to look for your sub-market, all right? Now, the reason that the sub-market is so important is this fourth point, which is that the riches are in the niches. And I'm gonna explain this with a visual that I first heard from Dan Kennedy, and it was really just eye-opening for me. It really changed my life, and so I'll share it with you right now. And if you like more of this stuff, by the way, I'll just pause. You can go to acquisition.com. I have free trainings. I'm continuing to release more books and courses on this stuff for you guys at cost because I just want people to be wealthy and successful. And my very transparent goal is that you build your business from nothing to $3 million a year, and then you call me up and say, hey, I used all your free stuff. I didn't have to buy anyone's stuff, and I was successful, and I want to go to 30 million. And then I'd be happy to take the call. So what do we have here? So you've got your product, you've got your price, and I want to show you what this looks like. So let's say that you had a generic time management course. All right, this is going to really drive this point home for you. Let's say you had a generic time management course, and let's be honest, if you were at Barnes & Noble's and you were looking at a time management course, it might sell for $19, right? Just a thing or a booklet on time management, right? Very straightforward, all right? And that's because it targets everyone, right? And so as a result, there's no unique avatar, there's no unique process in it whatsoever. It's just generic, and so that is why it has to be priced this way, right? Now, let's say that we then took the same course and just changed the language inside of the course, same core thing, right? And we changed it to time management for sales professionals, all right? This is much more interesting now. And in our sales messaging, we can talk about more specifically the problems it's going to solve for them in the actual product itself. We can talk about, hey, this is going to help you make one more sale or two more sales just by being more efficient with your time. All of a sudden, now this is the same course, more or less, just now sold for $99. That's cool. Now let's look at the next one. Let's say we niche down even further, right? We say time management for outbound B2B sales. Well, if I'm an outbound B2B sales rep, I'm like, wow, this is really specific for me. It's $500. I mean, I would consider this. I mean, I do one deal and I'm gonna make this money back, right? And so I'm definitely gonna get my ROI on this thing, right? But notice we've already gone from $19 to $500, and this is already just the main course. But let's just see how much further we can even take this thing. So let's say I had a course. It was time managed for outbound B2B power tools and gardening sales reps. All right, and I could sell this for $2,000 because think about this. If you were an outbound B2B sales rep for power tools and gardening, right, you'd be like, this thing is literally made just for me. Like there's nothing else on the market that's like this. Category of one. And as a result, it's going to be made specifically for me and solve my problems in a unique way that'll overcome my biggest obstacles that they know because that is who I am, right? And so we went from a $19 price to a $19.97 price, as in $2,000, all right? And so we literally just 100x'd the price of the product that we have simply by niching down. And that is why they say the riches are in the niches, all right? That's why this is so important. And from a selling perspective, it also makes it significantly easier because the messaging and your copy and your advertising and all that stuff is going to be specific to that avatar, all right? And so same product, 100 times the price. That is the power of niching, all right? And so the reason, like I said, is so powerful, you can be so specific, all right? And so I like to say this because I think this is a nice soundbite that you can always remember, is that the goal of great writing is for the reader to understand. The goal of great copy is for the prospect to feel understood. That's the difference. When you're trying to persuade, you're not trying to teach. You're trying to get them to feel understood, because the better you can articulate their situation and their problems, and if you can say what they are suffering from better than they can, then they will automatically believe that if you can articulate their problems better, you can also articulate the solutions to their problems better than they probably have thought of. And as a result, you will be an expert at solving their problem and justify the price that is probably significantly more because it's made specifically for them. All right, so that is the power of niching down and why it's so important. So if right now your offer is not converting, it may be because you're not in the right market. And so one, the 3 levers of success, we went over that. 2, we went over the 4 variables that I look at when I'm picking a market. So I want them to be in pain, I want them to have purchasing power, I want them to be easy to find, and I want them to be growing. The 3 main markets that exist, and then you have to find a sub-market, which is going to be health, wealth, and relationships, right? Overall, there's going to be the 3 bigger ones. And then we need to do that sub-market and really niche down because it's going to allow us to be competing in a category of one. All right, realistically, if you're trying to compete against mass market, there are massive, massive, massive companies that already exist there and occupy that space. It's very difficult to dethrone them, right? Whereas if you can niche down, niche down, niche down, then it would be easier for you to make a compelling argument that you can solve this specific person's problem better than a generic solution, a commoditized solution. And as a result, you'll be able to spend more targeted ad dollars, more specific ways of reaching out to customers with specific messaging at higher price points and make a good profit and build a business around it. All right, so those are the 4 things that I look at when I'm as step number 1 is finding a starving crowd. All right, and so in the next video, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to charge what it's worth. All right, so I'm going to go through that in the next video. I hope you enjoyed this. Go ahead, acquisition.com if you want more free stuff. It's all there for you. Keep being awesome. I'll see you in the next video.